In January 2026, someone built a complete 11-tab financial model in 10 minutes. Not a template, not a filled-in form, a full working financial model, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, assumptions tab, revenue drivers, scenario toggles, all linked, all formula dependent, all correct. They did it using Claude inside Excel, and they didn't write a single formula manually. Now before you write this off as a demo trick, I'm going to show you exactly what Claude for Excel is, how it's fundamentally different from every other AI tool that's claimed to help with spreadsheets and the specific workflows that are saving finance professionals 3 to 5 hours a week right now. I'll also be completely honest about what it can't do, because there's real hype around this tool, and some of it doesn't hold up. Let's get into it. Before we talk about Claude, let's talk about Excel, because a lot of people assume Excel is old news, that everything has moved to cloud tools and Python notebooks and BI dashboards. It hasn't. Excel is still the operating system of the global economy. Investment banks build billion-dollar models in it. CFOs forecast company futures in it. Analysts at every level live inside it. There are roughly 750 million Excel users worldwide. It is the most widely deployed analytical tool in history. The problem with Excel has never been its power. The problem is its opacity. You open a model with 47 tabs, nested formulas across sheets, assumptions buried 3 layers deep. You spend 2 hours just figuring out what drives what. Touch the wrong cell, and everything breaks. Ask the analyst who built it. They left 3 months ago. Every Excel user knows this pain. Claude for Excel is the first tool that actually addresses it, not by replacing Excel, by making Excel explainable. Claude for Excel is a native Excel add-in, a sidebar that lives inside your workbook. You open it with a keyboard shortcut, Control+Option+C on Mac, Control+Alt+C on Windows, but here's the critical thing that distinguishes it from every AI for Excel tool that came before it. When you open the Claude sidebar, Claude reads your entire workbook before it does anything. Not the active sheet. Everything. Every tab, every formula, every cross-tab reference, every named range, every conditional formatting rule, every data validation constraint. It builds a complete structural map of how your model works. Then you have a conversation with that map. The distinction matters enormously. Every previous AI formula tool worked cell by cell. You'd ask for a SUMIF formula, get a SUMIF formula, and then go back to working manually. The AI had no idea what that cell connected to or why. With Claude, you can ask, if I change the growth rate assumption in B5, what else in this model breaks? And Claude answers with specific cell references. B5 feeds into C14, which drives F7 and F8, which roll up to the summary tab in sheet 4 row 22, because it already mapped the dependency chain before you asked. Every answer includes the cell-level citations you can click to verify. It shows its work. It is not a black box. And critically, Claude does not change anything in your model without your explicit approval. Ask before. Edits mode means Claude proposes changes, explains exactly what will move and why, and only executes when you say go. Setup is straightforward. Open Excel, go to the Home tab or Insert tab, click Add-ins, then search for Claude by Anthropic in Excel. Install it from the Microsoft Marketplace. You'll need a paid Claude account. Pro at $20 per month is the minimum. Sign in, and Claude is live inside your workbook. One important note, Claude for Excel currently supports .xlsx and .xlsm files only. File size limits apply based on your plan, and as of now, chat history does not persist between sessions. Every time you close and reopen Excel, Claude starts fresh. This is a real limitation for ongoing projects, and I'll cover the workarounds later. The keyboard shortcut to open the sidebar, Control+Option+C on Mac, Control+Alt+C on Windows. That is the entire setup. Let's get into what it can actually do. Capability. 1. Workbook comprehension. Start with any multi-tab model and ask, walk me through this model. What's on each tab? What drives the key outputs, and where are the most critical assumptions? Claude reads every tab first, then gives you a structured map. For inherited models, acquisitions, audits, handoffs, this replaces the 2 hours you'd spend archaeology. One founder described the experience, from archaeology to analysis in 20 minutes instead of 2 days. This is genuinely the most immediately useful feature for anyone who regularly opens models they didn't build. Capability. 2. Error detection and tracing. Paste in the model and ask, are there any errors, circular references, or reconciliation gaps in this workbook? List them with the cell references. Claude will surface errors, value, errors, circular references, reconciliation gaps, and duplicate entries across multiple sheets, explaining what went wrong and how to fix it without disrupting the rest of the model. In one documented accounting workflow, Claude proactively identified reconciliation gaps in an ASC 606 revenue recognition model that would have taken a senior analyst several hours to find manually. Capability 3. Scenario analysis. This is where finance teams report the biggest time savings. The traditional scenario analysis workflow: manually copy your base case, change one assumption, recheck all the dependent cells, document what changed, repeat for every scenario. Build 3 scenarios off this base case: one where revenue misses by 20%, one where we delay hiring by 1/4, and one where churn increases by 2%. Show me the runway impact of each. Claude builds all 3, highlights every cell it changes with an explanation, and generates the outputs. You review, you approve or adjust. Scenarios that took half a day now take minutes. Capability 4. Model construction. This is the capability that generated the 11-tab model in 10 minutes. Build a 3-year revenue model for a SaaS business. Assumptions tab with ARR, growth rate, churn, CAC, and headcount drivers. Separate tabs for income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow. Summary dashboard with key metrics. Everything should be formula linked with no hard-coded numbers except in the Assumptions tab. Claude builds it. Not a template, a working model constructed from your description. Every formula is linked to the Assumptions tab. You can change any input and the entire model updates. This is not magic. The model will need review, especially for industry-specific accounting nuances. But the scaffold, which normally takes a financial analyst 2 to 3 hours to build from scratch, is done in minutes. You spend your time checking and refining, not building from zero. This is the feature most people don't know about, and it is the one that changes the competitive landscape. Claude for Excel connects to external financial data sources through MCP connectors. As of early 2026, the live connections include LSEG, real-time market data, securities reference data, pricing feeds, Moody's, credit ratings and financial data across 600 million companies, S&P Global via Kensho, financial intelligence and market analytics, Delupa, automated financial data extraction from company filings, PitchBook, private equity and venture capital data on companies, funds, and deals, FactSet, integrated financial data and analytics. The combined cost of a Claude Pro subscription plus these data sources is a fraction of what Bloomberg Terminal charges, and we covered in a separate video exactly what that comparison looks like. Here's what this means practically. You're building a comparable company analysis. You type, one bra ma, ni, pull the last 4 quarters of revenue, EBITDA and EPS for these 5 companies from LSEG, company list. Populate columns B through F, formatted consistently. Claude connects to LSEG, retrieves the data, and populates your spreadsheet. You didn't export from Bloomberg, you didn't copy from a data terminal, you didn't manually type numbers. You described what you wanted and it appeared in the cells. This is the workflow that institutional analysts have been doing manually for decades, and it now runs inside Excel for $20 a month. Anthropic has also noted that Microsoft, despite competing with Anthropic in some ways, is paying Anthropic $30 billion to host these workloads on Azure. That tells you how seriously Microsoft is taking the embedded AI and workflow play. Let me show you the actual build. I'm going to construct a discounted cash flow valuation model from scratch. Opening a blank workbook, Claude sidebar open. Here's the prompt. Ultraman. Watch what happens. Claude reads the prompt, proposes the tab structure, and begins building. It explains each step as it goes. You can see it creating the Assumptions tab first, then the revenue build, then the cash flow waterfall, then the DCF calculation, then the sensitivity table. 12 minutes later, in this case we're doing it live so it may vary, here's what we have. Assumptions tab with every driver clearly labeled and formatted. Revenue build that links every year's growth rate to the assumption cell. EBITDA margin flowing through correctly. Free cash flow calculation with the CapEx and working capital adjustments. Terminal value using the Gordon growth model linked to the terminal growth rate assumption. And a sensitivity table showing enterprise value at every combination of WACC from 8% to 14% and terminal growth from 1% to 4%. Every number in here is formula driven. If I change the WACC assumption, changes cell. The entire model updates instantly. Now, should you send this to your board tomorrow? No, you should audit it. The model structure is sound, but industry-specific nuances, depreciation treatment, specific working capital dynamics, tax rate assumptions, need a human review. The value here is not that Claude replaces financial judgment, it's that Claude builds the architecture in the time it used to take to set up the template. The skills feature is where Claude for Excel becomes a team tool rather than a personal productivity hack. A skill is a saved workflow, a specific series of instructions that Claude follows consistently, triggered with one click. When your team figures out the correct way to run a variance analysis, structure a budget review, or populate a pricing model, you save it as a skill. Anyone on the team can run it directly from Claude for Excel without knowing what prompts it uses. This means your best analyst's workflow becomes accessible to the whole team. Model quality becomes consistent regardless of who runs it. New team members can contribute to complex processes on day one. Skills are available on all paid plans. For finance teams doing repetitive quarterly work, this is the highest leverage use of the tool. Here's what Claude for Excel cannot do right now, and these are real limitations that matter. No VBA support. Tasks that require macro automation or event-triggered processes cannot be handled by Claude for Excel. Traditional VBA remains necessary for those workflows. No session history. Every time you close Excel and reopen the add-in, Claude starts fresh. It doesn't remember the model you were working on yesterday. The workaround is to keep a brief context note in the spreadsheet, a hidden tab or comment, that you paste into Claude at the start of each session. Prompt injection risk. This is one Anthropic themselves flag prominently. If you open a spreadsheet received from an external party, hidden cell instructions could potentially manipulate Claude into unintended actions, exporting data, modifying records. For sensitive financial work, only open Claude on files from trusted internal sources. Manual file management. You cannot ask Claude to access other files on your computer. It only reads the workbook you have opened. Output quality requires review. For client-facing deliverables, always validate Claude's outputs against your firm's modeling standards. Claude is trained on common financial patterns, but your specific methodology may differ. These limitations are real. The tool is genuinely powerful within them. Know which side of the line your workflow sits on before relying on it. Here is why I think Claude for Excel is one of the most important AI releases of 2026, beyond the obvious productivity angle. Excel is where economic decisions live. Budget allocations, investment decisions, headcount plans, pricing strategies, acquisition models. All of these start as numbers in a spreadsheet. The ability to build, audit, explain, and run scenarios on those models has historically required either significant expertise or significant time. Claude for Excel compresses that requirement. A founder with no financial modeling background can now build a defensible three-statement model and understand what drives it. A junior analyst can audit a model that would have taken a senior analyst a day to understand. A CFO can run 20 scenarios in the time it used to take to set up 3. That acceleration happens at the level of how companies make decisions, and decisions made faster, with more scenario coverage and clearer understanding of what drives the numbers. Those compound. This is not about replacing finance professionals. The professionals who understand this tool will make better models, faster, with more confidence. That's an advantage that compounds too. If you're in finance, accounting, or any field where spreadsheets are a significant part of your work, download Claude for Excel from the Microsoft Marketplace today. It is $20 a month on the Pro plan, and the first session will show you what it can do. The link is in the description, along with the keyboard shortcuts, the list of data connectors, and a prompt library for common financial modeling use cases. If you found this useful, the next video in this series covers Anthropic's blueprint for long-running AI agents, which is where this technology is heading for tasks that take not minutes, but hours and days. That one will change how you think about what AI can actually do. Subscribe. See you there.